If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, we have Jordan Espinosa back on the show. Returns to the Octagon January 25th in Raleigh, North Carolina, taking on Alex Perez. Jordan, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. I'm doing good.
It's great to have you back on here. We're about 2 weeks away from this fight. We begin to kick off your 2020 fighting campaign. How has everything been going? How has the preparation been to this point?
Everything's been really good. I got this fight, I think, about 9 weeks notice, 9 weeks out from the fight, and I was already hoping to get a fight before the end of 2018 or 2019, so I was already training, and it came a little later than I had hoped for, but it worked out because I was already in good shape, so I didn't have to get in shape while in camp. So I'm feeling really good about this one.
Is this like a different kind of a camp for you because you were already sort of like pre-preparing for a fight camp to come? It came. Were there like peaks and valleys? Did you have to slow things down, ramp things back up, or not really much changed for you?
Yeah. I mean, once I got notice that I had a fight scheduled, I ramped things up a little bit more focused training since Alex is kind of a different opponent than I've had in recent fights. And so, yeah, I definitely ramped things up a little bit more than what I was already doing. Cleaner diet and stuff to get my weight down. And since then, it's been smooth sailing.
So the last time we saw you was in Newark, taking on Matt Schnell. The fight didn't go your way. Clearly not the result you were hoping for. But, you know, Matt, just that sly dog, man, in the jiu-jitsu and the grappling world. What were you able to at least take away from that afternoon in Newark despite, you know, not getting your hand raised?
No, I felt good going into that fight. I felt good the day of the fight. Everything was, to me, on point. It's just one of those things, man. Sometimes you could have the best camp. Sometimes you could feel the best, and then come fight time, it doesn't go your way. And that's the sport. That's the sport of MMA. All credit to Matt. Heck of a jiu-jitsu guy, heck of a striker. I do think I was, for the brief minute and a half that the fight was going on, I had some successful moments on the feet. I felt a lot faster than him. And so, yeah, I think it was just a fight IQ slip up on my part to shoot in for the takedown when I was having success on the feet. But it's the name of the game, and we learn from these things and come back better for it.
Fighters handle losses like differently than the guy next to them or the guy across from them. It's just different. I've talked to fighters that win or lose, they fall into a depression no matter what, because that feeling of getting into a fight just goes away, and then they're like, now what? Now what do we do? How You know, it's been a while since you had lost. You had a 5-fight winning streak snap. Was it something because of how it went down? It was just a frustrating thing, get over it quick, and then back on the horse, or did you have to take some time to think about it a little bit?
Honestly, the losing wasn't the worst part. I've lost before. Unfortunately, I've had 6 of them as a pro, but that's not the biggest thing to me. Losing, it's gonna happen. Failure is gonna happen. I was more frustrated at the fact that I didn't feel like I trained all that time, and I didn't really feel like I got to show anything. I fought for the fight went a minute and a half, and it's hard to really show anything in that small amount of time. But it was frustrating to train for that long and then not really felt like I fought at all. Like I wasn't like, I didn't have bumps or bruises, and I wasn't banged up. Like it was weird, honestly, because usually I kind of like that feeling after a fight of like you just went through war, or you're just like banged up from battle kind of thing. And then I was like, oh well, damn, I probably won't get another fight for another 4 or 5 months. And so this has basically been 8 or 9 months of me just training and not being able to really showcase my skills, and not just for the fans or for the UFC, just for myself and my own comfortability and growth as a fighter. So the losing part wasn't anything I was unfamiliar with, or it wasn't anything that I'm particularly like. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hate losing for sure, but I learned a while back that I can't put I can't put all my eggs in one basket, and I'm going to set myself up for failure that way. And so I look at every loss as a learning experience. I try to figure out and correct the things and mistakes that I made, and come back better.
And now you get Alex Perez, a wily veteran. I think one of the more underrated fighters on the entire UFC roster. Only loss in his last 10 fights was to Joseph Benavidez. Is Alex a guy that's been on your radar? I mean, because I feel like he's just one of those guys that just kind of floats around and flies under the radar. Is he someone you've been paying attention to?
Yeah, I was paying attention. We both fought on season 1 of the Contender Series, and I remember watching his fight, and I was thinking, and he dominated his opponent. I forget his name, and I remember thinking, oh, this guy's gonna be good. And yeah, so and then we also have some mutual friends and stuff that we've both known for a while, and so yeah, he's been on my radar. I've watched all of his fights even before I knew I was gonna fight him, and so yeah, I've known about Alex for a while. It's not like I heard his name and it was foreign to me. No, he's been on my radar for quite a bit.
When you say preparing for Alex is different than preparing for other fights you've had in the past, what do you mean by that?
I guess stylistically, Alex has found a lot of success, at least in his UFC fights, by taking people down, being able to control them a little bit. A fight against Mark De La Rosa, he was able to take him down and keep him there for most of the rounds. Same with Eric Shelton. He was able to take Eric Shelton down, even though, when Eric Shelton was having a little bit of success on the feet. And so, generally in my fights, I haven't had people try and take me down. This might be the case. This might be different in that I think he will try and take me down. I think he's going to feel my speed on the feet, and he's going to try to slow me down, and he's going to try to do that by taking me down, which in the past I typically don't have to worry about people trying to take me down, and I'm typically the better wrestler, or at least on paper the better wrestler, and I think on paper he's the better wrestler since he's wrestled in college and I didn't. But so yeah, that's a different kind of unique challenge that I'll face in the cage, but it's not something that like I'm unfamiliar with in the gym. So
you're in New Mexico, right?
Yes, I'm in New Mexico.
Is there a part of you that's a little bummed this fight isn't happening like 3 weeks later in Rio Rancho? Like, not far from where you're at. I think your gym might even be in Rio Rancho, if memory serves me correctly. Like, are you a little bummed that they didn't push this thing back like 2 or 3 weeks? You just have this thing right at home?
It's funny because I found out, I got the call for this fight, and literally, I don't know, was it a day or two later, Ray Borg had hit me up on Instagram and asked me what card I was fighting on. And I told him the Raleigh card, and he was like, oh, wow, that's surprising because I'm fighting on it was before those fights were announced. And that's when I first found out about it, and I was like wow, that's crazy. But honestly, it's not too bad. My younger sister lives out in Raleigh, and I haven't been out there to visit her, and she's been bothering me to go visit her for a few years now. And so I'm going to spend some time. I'm going to get to go out there. She's going to watch me fight, and I get to spend about a week out there. And so
nice.
It's cool. And then, like, I haven't fought out here in a while, but the perks of kind of being a fighter at the highest level or fighting for the UFC is I get to travel all the time and go to places I haven't been before. So whenever I get that opportunity, I like to take it. Hopefully I can get my first international fight sometime this year, so that'd be cool. But no, I wasn't all that bummed. It was just funny timing. But it will actually be the first fight I get to go to as a spectator. I've never been to a UFC fight. My first UFC event was the one that I fought in against Eric Shelton.
So this will be your first one watching it as a fan in attendance.
Yep, which it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a good time.
In terms of like where you want to travel internationally, is there a certain place that you hope they book a card and then you're gonna be all over Shelby and Maynard and be like, come on, man, put me on this card? Is there a certain place that you want to go and fight?
Well, I'm a pretty big anime and video game nerd. I would love to fight in Japan. I think everyone wants to fight in Japan. Right. But honestly, I'm not too picky. I've literally just took my first trip out of the country in October, and that was to Mexico, which is like 3 hours away. So, I'm not too picky. Japan would be probably my dream place to fight. Australia would be really cool. But any really international card that that I can get on. I'm gonna try to get on it this year.
Well, 125 has certainly got a lot more interesting over the last month or so, with Cejudo no longer being the champion. Whether he got stripped or he relinquished the title doesn't really matter. He's not the champion anymore. But Benavidez and Figueiredo are about to fight for the vacant belt. Is this a good thing? Good thing, kind of opens things up a little bit, or is it kind of an iffy thing now that Cejudo's out of the picture?
I think it's good. I think the whole Cejudo thing kind of proved that, because a lot of the doubts were like, oh, the flyweights, there's not enough talent, or they're not good enough maybe. And I think Cejudo moving up to 35 and beating the 35 champ and then beating the number one contender at 35 shows, okay, these guys are at least legit talent-wise. But yeah, I also think it's a good thing that they're moving on from Cejudo, because he was injured and he was kind of going back and forth, and so they didn't want to hold up the division. And like any other division, when it's held up, it's kind of it just keeps the division stuck, and it's no fun for anybody, the fighters or the fans. So I think it's nice. I think it's especially good for us. And I don't know, it's good for Benavidez too. He hasn't had a crack at the title in quite a while, and he deserves it.
Yeah, he may not have gotten that shot for another 6 months, maybe even a year. By the time Cejudo could come back, he probably would go to 35 first, and so good for him. I agree. I like moving things along, and let's build up this division a little bit more too, and get some more bodies in there. I like where it's at right now. It's pretty deep. There's a lot of good fighters, a lot of good talent. I mean, just look at the Moreno-Kai Kara-France fight. That fight was absolutely bananas.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I think in the past, there's probably been 10 flyweight fights in the past 6 months, and I think in half of them have gotten a performance bonus. Like, they've all been super exciting. The Kai Kara-France and Moreno fight probably should have got fight of the night if it wasn't on such a big card. But yeah, who was it, Matt Schnell and Pantoja, that fight was crazy until it ended, and Pantoja got a bonus. It's super exciting as being in the division, and I think we've looked nothing but spectacular, all of us. And hopefully it keeps trending in that direction and people will start to notice us more.
I would agree. And now you're going to fight Alex Perez in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to ask you for a prediction per se. I feel like the days of I'm going to submit him in the first round, I'm going to knock him unconscious in the first round, I feel like those days are behind us now. But I guess, because I know you're not going to say that he's going to beat you or anything like that, but I guess besides the win, what else do you want to accomplish in there for yourself as a fighter, as an athlete, as a martial artist? What do you want to do in there on January 25th to get your hand raised?
I want to perform. Like, the biggest thing and my biggest frustration from the last fight is that you put so much time and so much effort into this sport, and I've been doing this for 11 years now, and you just want to see improvements, or if not see improvements, you at least want to feel like you gave your full effort. And so if I can come out of that fight and say, oh, I gave it my all, there's absolutely nothing else I could have done, win, lose, or draw, then I'll be happy. Like, I recognize that I'm very fortunate to be able to pursue what I love as my job, and get to do it in front of my family and people that I don't get to see very often. And so if I could just come out of there with my head, I'm going to come out of that fight with my head held high. And as long as I feel like I gave my best effort and put forth all I've been doing in training, and that shows in the fight, then I'll be happy.
Well said. Well said.
Thanks.
I'm reflective now. Maybe you make me thinking about my life a little bit more. Am I approaching things the right way, Jordan?
Hey, it's good to be reflective.
There you go. We look forward to seeing you back in there in a couple weeks' time in Raleigh, North Carolina. Great fight with Alex Perez. This is a great one on paper. The card's going to be a good one as well, and we look forward to seeing that very much. But before we let you go, sir, let the folks know where they can find and follow you on the web, social media, shout-outs, anything like that. Anything else you want to get off your chest? The floor is yours.
Sure. Shout out to all my training partners at Latrell Yi MMA, which is actually located in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it's going to be a good one. Tune in. I think we're actually on the main card now, so that's awesome. And also shout out to a couple of my sponsors, Caveman Coffee, Rev Gear, and Brad Maestas Chiropractic.
Awesome, Jordan. Thank you for the time as always, and excited to see you back there in a couple weeks. All the best to you on January 25th.
I appreciate it. Thank you.